le quiero pedir en público de que investiguemos a todos los que están acá. Para atrás y para adelante. Yo me imagino que pues no hay ningún problema, ¿no? Hay una persona que me dijo una vez, mire, ¿y tú no le temes a la muerte? Yo le dije, no, pues claro, nadie se quiere morir. Yo no me quiero morir, pero... Entonces a mí no me va a pasar eso.
What's up, guys? Your boy Benny. You ever been in the gym and you shoot a basketball and it was blocked right back into your face? But the person who blocked it was Michael Jordan, and so at least it was one of the greats, right? That's how we feel in watching all of Tucker Carlson's interview with Nayib Bukele, the incredible president of El Salvador. We've been making requests for a presidential interview in El Salvador for a couple of months here, actually. But Tucker Carlson has said, no, it's mine. I have no idea, actually, how their interview process went. I just know this, that nobody would do a better job than Tucker, okay? So we're honored, actually, to have our shots blocked by the great Tucker Carlson, who did an incredible interview that really struck us on 3 different fronts. And it's really, really important to talk about it quickly, and then we'll show you some amazing clips from this thing. One, the president is so young, and he has little kids. And that's like, they talk about their family, and it's like so valuable to have people that aren't degenerate old cretins walking around like nursing home patients. That's all you see in America. That's all you see in America. Because they can insider trade, and because they can amass fortunes for their family, they just like stay in like corpses. And it's so nice to see somebody who's just like young and clear-eyed on these things and has like good motivation to create a great country, safe country for his little children, than the horrible motivation, which is to die in office, right? Which is with as much NVIDIA stock as possible, right? So anyway, second thing is he's a Christian, and he's like maybe maybe the only truly Christian leader in the world, and that's awesome. And you'll see that in the clips. That it's just like makes a difference in all of his movements and all of his decisions, his Christianity. And I think that it actually is having a profound spiritual effect. And that's the other thing, is that he talks openly about the spiritual warfare and the demonic activity that's going on in these gangs and in his country. And you never hear leaders speak like this. So let's jump into it. How did he clear his nation of gangs? This is the thing that made him famous. It was the most dangerous country in the world, and now it's the safest. Safer than America. Way safer than Canada, right? So how did you do that?
In the case of El Salvador, we were literally the murder capital of the world.
Yes.
And we turned it into the safest country in the Western Hemisphere. We're safer than any other country in the Western Hemisphere, which is, it was, if I would have said that 5 years ago, they would say that I was crazy, right?
Yes.
Because this was literally the most dangerous country in the whole world.
Your capital is now safer than our capital in Washington.
Yes.
A lot safer.
And the country is safer than the United States as a whole.
Yes.
The U.S. murder rate is around 6 murders per 100,000 inhabitants, and our murder rate is 2. So we're safer than Canada, safer than Chile, safer than Uruguay, safer than the U.S., safer than any country in the Western Hemisphere. There are countries in the other hemisphere that are safer than El Salvador, but not in the Western Hemisphere.
So you did that in just a couple of years?
Yes, we did that basically in 3 years.
So just bottom line it for us, what's the formula?
Well, I can tell you the official formula and the real formula.
Okay.
So the official formula is that we did a plan. I mean, we did a plan. It's not that. When I say official, I mean it's a lie. It's just the official one. We did a plan that was comprised of phases. So we roll up the first phase, then the next one, then the next one, and then gangs started attacking back. So we had to roll up everything at once, like in a hurry. So and it worked. It worked. In a couple of weeks, the country was transformed because the gangs were not yet arrested, but they were on the run. So we basically, in the roll-up of phase 6, we basically pacified the country in a couple of weeks.
How do you do that? How do you pacify a country?
Well, the phases included building up of the police forces, the army. We doubled the army. We literally doubled the army to fight crime, to use the army to fight crime. And we equipped them. Before, like soldiers, we didn't have useful guns or vehicles, drones, basic things that an operation of that magnitude would need. So yeah, we roll up the phases and then we went after them.
Okay, so that's the official. That's the official.
Yes, that's the official.
What's the real?
It's a miracle.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, it's a miracle.
I love that.
Tucker Carlson saying it's a miracle and laughing, and this is what we're talking about. Like this is the funny part of all of this, is that the guy just like speaks like you're speaking to an actual believer, somebody who actually believes in Christianity, and says that all this stuff is possible with God. It's a pretty amazing thing to see. You never see anybody talk like that. And speaking of God, he talks about the demonic forces inside of the gang members who controlled the entire country, and how they'd have to sacrifice children. It's really dark stuff.
I'm not a member of the gang anymore. And when they asked him why, I remember I remember the news outlet that made it this, but it's a very well-known news outlet that made this interview with a gang member in person. We allowed them to go into prisons and do the interviews. And the guy that they asked him, how many people have you killed? And he said, I don't remember. He didn't remember how many, probably 10, 20. He didn't remember. And then they asked him, and what is your position in the gang? He explained how he went up in positions, but I left the gang. I said, why did you left the gang? And he said, well, because I was used to kill people, but I killed for territory. I killed to collect money. I killed for extortion. But I came to to this house, and they were about to kill a baby. And the killer that had killed tens of people, said, oh, wait, what are we doing? Why are we going to kill that baby? And they told him, because the beast asked for a baby. So we have to give him a baby. So he said that he couldn't resist that. So he left the gang. He's in prison because, he's a killer. But he left the gang because he couldn't tolerate what he was seeing.
And evil forces surround us. They always have. To ignore that is to be stupid, and to ignore your ancestors and what people believed for thousands and thousands of years, up until like 1950. And until there was like a massive operation to then force them effectively to be embarrassed of their beliefs, and to be embarrassed of the beliefs of their ancestors. So you should actually believe in spiritual forces, and there is good and evil, and it's important to be on the side of good. Bukele says so.
I basically said, well, it's we're looking into an impossible mission here. So we pray, and we.
You prayed in the meeting?
Yes, of course, several times. Yeah.
What did you pray for?
To wisdom, to win the war, to have. I thought at the time that we would have civilian casualties. So we prayed that the civilian casualties will be as low as possible. And we didn't have any civilian casualties.
Wow. Incredible. So it's like the man who's doing better than maybe anybody to save the West, because the West is built on a Christian foundational ethic. And without that, then you become a rudderless cesspool of crime and villainy and all manners of cringe, and it's just awful to see. And there's still some places hanging on in this country and around the globe. How do you save the West? Is the final question that Tucker asked, and it's a profound one, but also a beautiful one. and this man knows how. Watch.
And so I don't know exactly where was the peak, but we can all agree that we're in the decline.
Yes.
So that is happening because we're not giving the correct maintenance to the civilization. Why? What made the West the leader in the world at the time we're living right now? What caused that to happen? A lot of things, like, importing the scientific process, started, developing science.
Yes.
Focusing, putting a lot of money into art, into science, into trying to build the best things and as fastest and as best and as great as possible, and importing wisdom and technology and trying to develop new technology and trying to but suddenly when you get wealthy, happens with families too.
Yes, it does.
Then people probably get spoiled, or they get, I want more things, I want that, I want this. You have to provide me that. And politicians, the problem, democracy is great, right? The U.S. has proven that democracy can work. But the problem with democracy, because everything has pros and cons, the problem with democracy is that politicians have a great incentive to offer, to give away the treasury.
Yes.
So if I say, no, I'm going to keep the treasury, it's because we might need it, for an emergency or something. Nobody would like that. People would like, oh, I'm going to give away the treasury. So they would vote for him. Then another politician, you know what, I'm going to give the treasury plus another treasury. So we're going to go into debt, right? Everybody will say, great, let's receive more money from the treasury. And when I say treasury, I mean, anything, building stuff, giving free stuff, sending checks to people.
COVID relief.
Yeah, exactly. Getting, a stimulus, whatever. So the politicians have the incentives of, just giving away the treasury and entering huge amounts of debt. And that doesn't not only destroys the structure of the government, but it also destroys the structure of society. Because if you give, for example, money, okay, if you don't work, I give you money, right? Or if you can shoplift $1,000 a day and still get some money from the government for food, housing, why would you work? In that store, it will be shoplifted and probably get in trouble, right? So the incentives are wrong, but it's not only because, maybe they are, but I'm not going to go into conspiracy theories, but it's not only because there are evil politicians, there are evil people planning everything, which might be the case, but I won't go into that. But just because things, the incentives are wrong.
Yes.
So even a normal, not evil politician has the incentive to give away the treasury because he needs the votes. He needs to be elected. That's what he needs, right? He needs the votes.
It's the nature of the system.
Yes, it's the nature of the system. So the problem is that democracy works. Nobody can say it doesn't because it worked in the United States, right? But if you don't give maintenance to the system, it will fall like the wall if you don't give maintenance to it. Because the same system will degrade itself. So what you're having right now is a huge erosion of Western civilization. So we have governments pandering to their bases, to their ideology because they mobilize the vote or whatever, looking at what will happen in the election, what we can do to get more votes in the election.